What a wonderful conversation out there. Eunice Emeas here doing justice to that conversation with Managing Director, the Supadec, Festus Ochonogo. It was a brilliant conversation, and indeed, Delta State can work. We can harness all the things we've got. We can ensure that the state is moving smoothly so we can have a better, wonderful, and more prosperous state. That's all we say right here on Tuesday's Morning Ride. Next is our papers. We have several of them to look at. We'll look at the headlines this morning of these papers and see some of the things that we might have a little chat about before we say goodbye to you this morning. Now, first paper to look at is the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. The Nigerian Tribune is first. It says here, the face of bad governance. The dancer was a mistake. And then on this picture we have waste in Modakeke. That's Ocean people, let's remove the round peg from the square hole. New hope for the weak foundation. What a way to really canvas over something you do not like in a state. That's the big picture right there on Nigerian Tribune newspaper. At the top, we have several stories here. Do grab yourself a copy of the Nigerian Tribune to familiarize yourself with these stories. We have another paper.
Next is the Vanguard, and the lead here says, Nigeria's quality of life took us to Tinubu, and the statement credited to Onayinko, two riders, says we're done talking. The second tells presidents to govern better. You can get details of that story on page 9. And then a photo speak out from Delta State with a caption at Delta Economic Summit. And we have a couple of dignitaries, of course, the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, out there, Governor, the Executive, Right Honorable Governor Sheriff Oberewere, and the DG of the WTO, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, amongst others like Professor Lumumba, Taiwo Yedele, and Tony Lumino.
There's also Charles Soludo of Anambra State, yeah.
All right, you can get yourself a copy of the Vanguard to get more stories from that daily.
Okay, let's look at the Daily Sun newspaper this morning and see the big headline here. It says on the Daily Sun newspaper, Presidency sets September 3 for state police bill. The rider begins consultation, invites Nigerians to shoot policing. The other rider says AGF assures safeguards will prevent political abuse. And of course, the big picture on the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper is the Delta Economic Investment Summit. And you can see those names that Ogaga mentioned earlier on. That includes the former governor of the state as well as the deputy governor of the state, all in one picture, and we can picture a greater Delta state after the summit.
The Guardian is next for review. Post reforms, federal government orders pass burden of economic growth, stability to state governors. And the second and last headline I'll be taking from the Guardian newspaper is this. Federal government rallies public input on state police as report says death toll hits 5,091 in second quarter.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yes, sad commentary there.
The Nation newspaper is next. The big headline on the Nation newspaper says, National Policing Bill gets 7-week action plan. National Policing Bill gets 7-week action plan. The rider, Working Groups opens portal for public input. The other one says it's Tinubu's most consequential reforms. That's the big headline on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning.
Now we move to the Daily Independent, and the major headline, Indonesia's palm oil curbs wake-up call for Nigeria. And of course, same photo speak that we saw on
the
Daily Sun and the Vanguard, only that there's a little bit of more editing, I would say. I didn't miss that detail. So it's more, the color of Delta State is more conspicuous here.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. Well done. I think I'm loving seeing our pictures out there, seeing the governor, my namesake, of course, around, and then the former governor, who's very endeared to, as well as other dignitaries who were there at the Delta State Economic Investment Summit. Beautiful picture. I could almost leave this that paper up there. But let's move on to the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Big headline on the Daily Trust newspaper says, we paid 50 million naira to secure Kirby's judge's release. It's coming from the family. 50 million naira, whooping 50 million naira to secure Kirby judge's release, coming from the family.
And it's so sad. After a couple of days ago, we just saw the president bragging about how his administration did not pay ransom for the release of the students in Orire, Ondo State, and now
Nigerians don't even trust these things anymore. They don't trust this anymore. It's all right.
All right. The Daily Times paper, I believe we can trust. Akume, Dangote, Kalu, Keyamo, Amadu, Imadeb accept DTN at 100 awards. And you can see Festus Keyamo there receiving a big book and opened renewed hope agenda. I'll take one more headline from the Daily Times. This one says, on the business front, NNPC profit falls 35% despite rising oil output. Revenue recovery. Well, it will be an interesting read. Where to get yourself a copy of the Daily Times.
All right, let's look at our next paper. That is the New Telegraph newspaper. Big story on the New Telegraph newspaper says, 2027, Nigerians won't vote if they believe APC will win. A bold statement coming from America. You go get yourself a copy and then we can see the big picture here. It's funny, we're going to be repetitive on this picture, point our bias, but this charity must begin at home, and we are proud of Delta State at this point. So look at the picture, we're going to admire it. Right here on the front page of the New Telegraph newspaper. Ugaga has the other paper this morning.
Yes, I mean, if you don't blow your trumpet, who will?
We'll play it for you.
All right, the Punch is next. 2027. Tinubu, Atiku, Obi, weigh ex-governors for campaign. DG Rose. We've got about 3 riders there. I'll just take one. INEC opens 2027 presidential campaign August 19. Obi may pick campaign DG from Southwest. And a photo speak, this one more of a close-up shot of the governor of the state, Governor Sheriff of
State Economic Summit.
Yes, still from the Economic Summit. And we have the Vice President and also Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Premium Trust, Mr. Emmanuel Emefieni.
That's beautiful. Very quite beautiful. Okay, let's get back to the studio. I think we have exhausted all the papers. We looked at the biggest headlines this morning. We make bold to say, we dare to say that Delta State is rocking the front pages this morning. And we're proud of it for every good reason. It's one thing to see your state at the front pages for a very bad reason. I remember the other time we had a military issue and we're front page. It wasn't a nice thing to talk about.
No, it wasn't.
This is beautiful to talk about. A state with the whole intention to move forward in life, to make money for the people, to make a better state for Deltans. It's just beautiful and great one. So again, congratulations to the governor. We are still appealing yet insisting that this shouldn't end with all those wonderful speeches, because every single speech rendered yesterday, they were good for Instagram, and were beautiful speeches.
Good for the camera, good for quotes.
Good for quotes. Good for students in secondary school to read, study about. Good for political science students. Perfect speeches. But you said something about ideas. It wouldn't work if we don't get them into action. So action must start now. But bigger stories also that rocked the pages this morning too has America. And so these headlines are really very, very strong. New Telegraph newspaper has the most controversial of the headlines. 2027 Nigerians won't vote if they believe APC will win, coming from America. Now, this has correlated into different thoughts. First of all, we heard about that visit of the Catholic bishops to the presidency. I've seen people attack Khan on the social media and say, why can't Khan go and do this exact thing with the presidency? It's not time for lip singing with the president precisely. And I know that the Catholic bishops have been granting interviews afterwards. It looks like they didn't have the sweetest conversation. But look at my interest here. I don't care. I'm just concerned that conversations like this should happen.
Yes.
To steer government to do more. Who gets to reap from all these things? The people. We want a country that is not full of critics who just criticize without any point. We want a country where the government of the day has oppositions, divergent views, urging it to do good and do better for the people. That's my very happy concern. And if this can steer the polity and ensure that the president keeps being more transparent, doing more, showing himself, and trying to show the world really why his policies are the best for the people, and so be it. At the same time, we should ensure that while we criticize, it's balanced, it's accurate, and it gives the best picture of the government to ensure that the people get the best, and also we don't hit up policy where we shouldn't hit it up. At the same time, well done to everyone. The president, who insisted that his policies are good for the people, I think that a man with a strong dream believes in himself a whole lot. And then the bishops, who insisted that the people are going through a difficult time, perfect. Indeed, yesterday at the summit, one of the general consensus was that Nigerians are having the hardest time. And when Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said that, I saw the state governor nod his head. I saw the vice president not to what he said. The entire world is having a hard time. So it's incumbent on incumbent leaders to ensure that they make the people lead a happier life. And it's sort of beyond, what's that thing called again? That they do palliatives and the rest of them. Ensure that the people have a better life, regardless of the toughness of the economy, both in the nation and the world at large.
Yes, I totally agree. Now, let's just look at this headline from the Daily Sun. Presidency sets September 3 for state police bill. And of course, we know that consultations are ongoing because the Chief of Staff to the President, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, has said that national consultation will be held before the President's final approval. And I hope that this is done properly and the needed stakeholders that need to bring in their input, they do the necessary because, of course, the debate around state police, abuse of power, funding, how will it coexist with the federal structure? Because, of course, state police does not erode federal policing and all of those. So, but I think this consultation is a welcome development, and we definitely look to the implementation soonest because according to Femi Gbajabiamila, the approved work program is for 7 weeks, and it will run from July 27 to September 14 with legal drafting, policy research, data analysis, implementation modeling taking place simultaneously.
I love that there is so much effort to ensure that this is done properly, because this particular bill that we have been all crying for, because yes, it looks like we have more Nigerians charging for state policing, but we know there's a downside of it as well. We know that some governors might become too powerful, larger than life when that happens, if that happens. So I think every I should be crossed to T's, every I should have the dot on top of it. Everything should be considered, every full stop, every comma, everything at all, to ensure that it is properly documented. And we know that when a law is not well documented, lawyers take advantage of it. We've seen that happen. In fact, there was this one time in this country that we had our wonderful prose writer, Chimamanda, coming to help us review our law by just simply checking out the linguistics of it. It tells you that everything should be considered, every I should be crossed and dotted to ensure that we don't misplace anything at all. So I'm really saying that we should push for that, because yes, the crimes in the country is still annoying, it's still sad. We have lost our humanity to some extent, because I remember, I always give an analogy about a day that I was sitting with some friends and we saw a snake. A fellow friend of ours went and crushed the snake with his very heavy boots, and then we just continued discussing after 5 minutes of shock. In the same vein, in this country, we see the headlines every day: 100 people killed, 10 people killed, 5 people killed, 1 person died, and we end up saying, "Oh, thank God, it's just 1 person who died." So that's the loss of humanity out there. And it means that we have lost prioritizing our human lives. That tells that we are losing humanity. We must begin to ensure that we pay attention to that. In that light, there are some stories that caught my attention, and that's the Kebbi State High Court judge's family saying that they paid 50 million naira ransom. And that was at the Daily Trust newspaper. And then there was New Telegraph that also captured that particular story. It's a no-no. It was United States that said we don't negotiate with terrorists, and saying that looked like was a heavy statement. And some Nigerians feel that there are Nigerians who share different opinions, feeling that somehow maybe Nigeria once upon a time negotiated with terrorists, but that's not true. The whole idea of Niger Delta and asking for amnesty and the rest of them wasn't negotiation with terrorists. It was about people who had interest that they could not, that was not met. And if you have gone to the creeks, you would see how people in that place are suffering. But you know when we have terrorists being given monies paid to release hostages, it means that we are just keeping the problem for another day. In fact, we are equipping our adversary to be stronger for another day. It's like being in a battle with another country. Let's say we're Ukraine fighting Russia, and then Russia takes off our soldiers. Then we give Russia some monies to release our soldiers. What it means is that Russia will just purchase more weapons and come back to us as far as the war is not over. So we don't want to see things like this anymore, really. I don't know how true this story is or not, but it's coming from the family, so it carries a very, very, very heavy weight. Negotiation with terrorists and paying of ransoms is something the country even frowns at in the first place.
It's easier for a viewer to say that, oh, of course, especially when I was making the commentary on it, putting it side by side with the president's speech. It's easy to say it was not the federal government that made the payment of ransom. It was not the state government that made the payment of ransom. But the core responsibility of any government is security of life and properties. So in that aspect, the government failed. And the truth is, when we say the government has a policy of no payment of ransom, then we have to ensure security of lives and property. Because when the families, their hands are tied, because until you find yourself, because we have to bring in a human face to this. When your family member, your loved one is in the kidnapper's den, and you have a chance to save that person's life, and you're not getting the kind of satisfaction, the kind of response, the kind of encouragement, feedback that you need from security agencies, you will be forced
to do what you shouldn't.
Yes, so if in as much as we're saying don't pay ransoms, please, federal government, state governments do the needful, protect lives.
Yes, and good for them. Get those criminals, apprehend them. Let's be sure that we are safe. The fact that many Nigerians would actually run away if a terrorist says run away.
Exactly, they'll leave their community.
The government says stay, and the terrorist says run away. What do? I think we often run. Tells that we are not ready yet. We're not fighting this war. We're not winning this war at the time. But then the fact that the government of the day is fighting is encouraging. But just like the Delta acronym says, the Delta State acronym for what is happening in Delta State says, we need more security, more protection, more business to thrive. And if you check the medieval era, only countries or states or nations or villages that had proper security had prosperity. That's when the women can go to farm, when the men are fighting the battles that they would have faced from adversaries. If we must grow in this country, security should be top-notch. That's all we have on Tuesday's Morning Ride on Delta Television, The People's Pride. It's been a very huge delight. It's been a long time. I co-anchored with Ogaga Ekama and said that we don't come together except outside the studio, but now we have been together to do what I can describe as a marvelous show, from the Delta State Economic Summit and conversations we had, even from street talk to this very climax, looking at the papers, to the interview that Eunice Emeazia helped us run with the SUPADEC boss right there. We say thank you for being part of it. Ogaga, any final word?
Thank you. Yes, of course.
You must call your name, though.
It's the World Breastfeeding Week, and that will run till August 7. And the theme, breastfeeding for a sustainable start in life, strengthen what works. As a lady out there, as an aspiring mother, potential mother, as a nursing mother, please do well to breastfeed your children. Part of why God gave you those mammary glands is to take on this responsibility. Do not say that you don't want them to feel it, get out of shape and all of that. Do the needful, because it works and it benefits the health of your child. I am Ogaga Ekama, thanking you for your time.
Thank you, Ogaga. It doesn't even get out of shape. Just do it. Men, to support your women, support your wives, your mothers, support your sisters. Let them breastfeed the children. Give a helping hand, because that could be very exhausting. Breastfeeding precisely. That's how we say thank you once again for being part of Morning Ride, Tuesday's edition, right here on Delta Television, The People's Pride. Stay with us at 10 o'clock. I'll be back for the main news. For now, it's good morning.